That's my ate!
Oh my god, my heart. Oh, sorry. Hi. I'm Mika.
Hi, Mika.
Fifth year freshman. I always feel like a freshman, always. I don't even think I'm a senior at TPH. Like to actually be in this spot right now as a senior, like speaking to all of you is such a surreal thing. Because you know, I've always like looked up to like all the seniors that have come before me. Especially like my freshman year, they've really established like the foundation of like, you know, like this is the org for me. So like freshman year Mika, she was shy and awkward. But that didn't change. But the only difference is that like I got my baddie now, so it's fine. But bringing it back from San Leandro, 510, and like I was always like, you know, I always knew about like Filipino people. Like they're very present in the Bay Area, right? But I wanted to learn more about my identity coming into college and how much that could play into like my future endeavors. So that's why I decided to like get involved with Kasamahan my freshman year. Went to first gen, and boy, like that was like the most overwhelming first gen meeting like ever. Like I wanted to get out because I was like there was too many people and I couldn't handle like everything that was thrown at me. But there's always like the few that you have conversations with where you're just like, okay, they seem nice, I'm just stick with you. So that was Caitlin Celio, if y'all know her. She was really nice. But anywho, like I came into this org also wanting to develop like my leadership skills because I knew that like combining my passion for my culture and like wanting to develop myself as a leader, this could help me. So got involved, was an intern my freshman year, e-board sophomore year, e-board junior year. And I stepped back this year just because I wanted to focus on other aspects of my life, but like knowing or just putting everything into retrospect, like this organization has grown so much. Like a part of the reason why it was very overwhelming for me freshman year is because I just felt like it was just really cliquey and I just felt like I didn't know how I could fit in. And it's like those special like people that you meet that make you feel like you're at home. So like Kayla and Izzy, they're supposed to be Mario this year, but she's not here. Like, they were really my support systems and like the other people that I met here too. And like, I always like resent this org because of that. Like, sometimes I just hate it because I just feel like I don't belong, but like, no, there are aspects of this org that like isn't just social, like your culture, your Filipino culture, your heritage, like that's something to be proud of. Like, I felt like my identity became whole when I learned more about my culture, when I became involved in things like this, like Barrio. Like, each theme, each year, like, hella stood out to me and hella resonated with me, like, Rising with the Tides, Bumalik sa Simula, Utang na Loob, like, those are aspects of my culture, our culture, you know? Like, you learn more about yourself throughout these years and you go through hella struggles, but then like there's this space that somehow like Kasamahan is this organization that you feel like you're not contributing anything, but doing things like this, going to a workshop, talking to e-board, it's like those smallest things contribute to a legacy. a legacy that has been living up for 45 years. And you know, it's gonna stay strong because I know each and every one of you here is gonna keep that going. Like, the seniors, like, we can't stay forever, you know? Like, as much as we wanted to, like, we can't. But there is something about the waves of classes this year. Like, y'all are passionate. I see it within you. And I know that y'all are gonna grow this organization more and keep that legacy going. And hold it down for not just the seniors that are leaving, but everyone else that came before us. You know, like a shy, introverted person like me somehow got involved and somehow found her place. She found her people, and I know I don't know all of you, but like, sometimes it's just really overwhelming to talk to you. I'm so sorry, that's just how I am. But really, like, my Kasamahan experience is because of the people, Kapwa. It's like, I am not me without y'all. My family life, like, shout out to like my goal-getters and my phobes, like, everyone here, like, and especially like Uncle James, like, I keep looking at you and I don't want to. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to keep rambling, but I'm really hoping that, you know, y'all's journey with this org, it's not going to be perfect, but you're going to get something out of it. Whether that's something cultural, whether that's something social, you'll gain memories, you'll find something for you, and I hope that you keep it going.
Okay. Yeah, this is, I mean, everyone's saying it, but it's really weird being up here. Just because, like, I still vividly remember, like, when we were freshmen, the seniors who were seniors and we were freshmen, and it's weird to be here now. Where to start? I guess I'll just kind of start from the beginning of college. So my very first class here at USF was actually Olaguer's Philippine Culture and Dance class, and major shout out, it's so crazy because in that class, it was my very first class here at USF, and that's where I met Jaslyn, Kayla, RJ, where's RJ? I met RJ, and then I met Eric Dong too, who's now in Dahlia, because he was a junior. Yeah, he was a junior at the time. And it's so crazy, because I keep thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, y'all, we are here. Because in that class, like, we would do dances and stuff, and it was so weird, like, going to think that my very first class here was a Philippine dance class, and then, you know, now this is like my fourth barrio. But to backtrack it a little bit, so coming to college, I really wanted to join a Filipino organization, because at home, I'm like the baby of my friend group, and most of my friends are Filipino because like we live within like the Filipino community in my town. And I saw like my aunts who were like really involved in their schools. I never saw their PCS, but they would just tell me how involved they are, and I would see pictures, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I love to perform, just because I think it's just so fun. And so I really wanted to get involved, and I remember I missed first gen my freshman year. I could have gone. I looked at the time and it was like 30 minutes over, and I remember thinking, I was like walking by the place where the meeting was, and I was like, you know what? They're Filipino. They probably even haven't started yet. But what if like this is like the one group that actually starts on time? And I was so scared, so I didn't go. And I found out later that they started like an hour late. But it's fine. But yeah, first semester I wasn't really very involved. I went to meetings, but I was so shy. I didn't really know anyone. I didn't go to friendship games or anything. The only people I knew from Kasamahan were the people who were in my class, in the dance class. And I remember, like, I finally worked up the courage, and I was so shy. I worked up the courage, talked to Eric one time, and I was like, is it too late to sign up for the dance show that you guys do? You haven't even opened up starting yet. You're fine. You haven't started sign-ups yet. You're cool. And I was like, oh, okay, thank God. Because I didn't know what was going on, because I didn't really go to meetings, because I felt so out of the loop. But then come spring, and I went to practices, and I remember the two dances I was in my freshman year were Vinta and Binasuan. And I remember, I always tell this story, but she doesn't remember. I walked in, it was like a really similar thing to what she said said earlier, I walked in and I didn't know anyone to Binisu practice because we were in Binisu together. And I didn't know anyone, and I saw her like sitting against the wall by herself. And I remember I was like, oh, she looks nice. I'll sit next to her. I was like, she doesn't look scary. So I sat next to her, and then obviously we're still friends now. Two very awkward, introverted, shy people found their place in this org. So that's kind of how I got started, and I remember, we went through the motions, and I remember my freshman year, I went through a really hard time during barrio season, like in the beginning, and there was one time I showed up to practice, and I was just super out of it, and I wanted to leave early, and I remember my choreographer, who was actually the president at the time, her name was Casey, she came up to me, and I had never talked to her, and she came up to me, and she was so concerned with me, she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling well. And she just hugged me. Like, she just gave me a hug. No, like, but it wasn't like weird. Like, she was just like, oh, it's okay. Like, you can go home if you need to go home. And she just hugged me. And she let me leave. And I remember, like, I got back to my dorm and I was like, I don't even know her. And she was so, like, loving and nice to me. And I was like, I want to be that person if I continue to stay in this org. And I remember first time doing Rondalia Day, like I mentioned before, like I love to perform. And but I never performed with live music before. And my first Rondalia Day for Binisu, I remember the minute that we, like the first like 8 count of us like walking and performing for ACPH, the live music, like dude, like something woke up inside of me. Like it's that magic feeling that we talk about that you have all experienced now having performed before. Like there is something so special about being able to perform these dances and be able to help it carrying on this legacy. There's so much I want to say. Like, I feel like Kasamahan, yes, we carry on the legacy of like passing down our culture, but there's also a culture that we create within our own group. One of them being like how loving everyone is. Also to kind of open up. So last year, right before barrio season happened, one of my best friends from home passed away. And it was such a huge shock, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. And weirdly, not right before he passed away, but a few days before he passed, one of the things he told me was like, I want you to become the best version of yourself, and I don't want you to have any regrets. Because I had actually gotten nominated to be on CC my junior year, but I like was too scared to do it. Even though part of me wanted to, I was just too scared. I didn't think I was good enough. And my friend, he told me, he's like, I want you to become the best version of yourself. And so when we talk about people we're doing this for, like, definitely, I ran this year, I wanted it, and like I'm very blessed that, y'all voted to have me on too, along with Jazz and May. And like for me, I do it for him, and I hope I make him proud up there. And I also just, I guess, I know I'm kind of rambling, but I think what I'd want to pass on is just to carry on that legacy of love. Because I feel like Pakiki-sama is when we all come together and we share what we have in this community. And I feel like, what I would want to leave, like the mark I want to leave is one of love, that we can all like cherish each other and bring that out of this space too. I know not everyone has been able to watch the skits, so I don't know if everyone catches it, but in the 5th skit, when Marielle goes up and she says her monologue, and she says like, my hope for all of you is that you leave Pakiki-sama with this face. She actually approaches the crowd, she breaks the 4th wall, she goes into the convention, she addresses the crowd. And I don't know if everyone caught that, but the reason I bring that up is because just as, being on skit and like having written that monologue, like, that's what I hope the audience can take away, and that's what I want all of you guys to take away as well. This is such a special community here. I love it so much. I'm gonna miss it so much. Those of you who are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, I hope you guys come back next year. I know it's not for everyone, but if it spoke to you in some way this year, I hope you all come back. And one last thing, I never got to send out my notes from rehearsal week, so I never got to do an Easter egg. And I know I haven't been able to talk with all of you on a 1-to-1 scale, but I want to make friends. I want to know all of you. So I don't have an Easter egg, but just say hi. Let's talk. Let's be friends. But yeah, I think that's that's it. Just, yeah, I love y'all. Thank you so much